Well, we know that we're not ready, but
we're gonna get ready real soon.
Now it's about whether niggas is gonna live on their feet or die on their knees.
Well,
like,
you know, The Kings at Ease.
Wait, Sunyez wrote?
About Nas's album.
So right here we got L7, Powerful Lot, 9 Moons. The bars in here.
Can I read Sunyez shit or what?
Sunyez? Yeah, go ahead, read it. This is Sunyez. What is it?
This is Sunyez's Peace Course. You can read it at 5% Media. I'll drop the link at some point. I can sign in random Jews and Ray. You sign me in there so I'll get in the chat and whatnot. And I'll put the thing in there. All right. He starts off with a quote from King's Disease, which is a banging fucking track. Yo, Darkim and Devon, can you play those 2 songs we were playing? The King's Disease and the other one?
He do a show.
Okay. Well, all right. I'm going to skip the words. It's from 10 Points off the King's Disease. This is what Sunyez has to say. When the standards lower, the robots finish the rest. When righteous means are labeled as fiends to the dreams and thieves to the speed of the schemes, heartlessness downloads into the bloodstreams towards the uploads of the cream. When all care dissipates, deletions beyond secretions, but hardware on the mind from too much backspacing, the algorithms of propaganda programs are the mantra, programming successful. A citizen scrolling your life away and the last moments of integrity you can only fulfill with ideograms. Smile, sad, while and whoops, an idiot drowning one's own span. What do y'all think of that first paragraph? It seems like he's insulting them from high. He's dropping bombs from high. He's in the F-15 right now. What do you think, Darkim?
I don't, I went to school for science and mathematics. I don't understand that kind of talking. I don't. Listen,
it's hip hop. It's it's wild style.
What?
He writes in wild style. We write graffiti. Yeah, hip hop journalism is verbal graffiti.
See, look, the brother right here, he said deep, right? That's what I'm saying. Like when I was in junior high school, right? I used to laugh at the Puerto Rican kids that failed Spanish.
I did too. And the Dominicano. Oh yeah, Dominicano. Oh yeah, you're fucking Haitian, man.
And they used to always say, "Nah, it's not the same thing." You know what I'm saying? And I never understood what they were saying until I got to high school and I failed English. because I
Wow.
couldn't. The stories that they telling, and you got to understand all the analogies that they making and all of this stuff. It be going over my head.
We playing Sneaking Folk. Playing Sneaking Folk. I'm going to go and get something to drink because my throat is killing me. I'll be back. But for now, just Sekro.
Yeah.
He doesn't like KRS-One, so I shouldn't have said that.
It's not that I don't like him.
Well, I mean, he stood up for pedophiles, so I don't like him much either.
What you got to do with like him? He's a deviant. It's a Hotep channel. But yeah, y'all, everybody do the Each One Teach One. Hit the like button and share this on your other sites, on your Facebook and your Twitter, because YouTube, they don't. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I'm glad Calm Islamly was in the room with He Kareem. A lot of people, the original Mythbuster, I actually was building with some brothers not too long ago. And I came to the realization of something y'all been trying to tell me the whole time I've been on here. Like, I don't know if anybody recalls where the original Crying Jordan came from. Like, who recalls how I first started putting Crying Jordan on? Anyone? It might not be too many people that was that Smell Goods was around then. Smell Goods, you remember the original reason why I came with the Crying Jordan? Nah, that was the second reason. The original reason was the conversation about was Yaqub a real person or not. That was the original reason. Remember, we went through that for like a couple of days. Yeah, Calm is long. That's a little bit before your time on the lives. You know what I'm saying? And we went through this, man. This was like a couple of days. This is like when the live stream first started. At first, I was just recording. Tell the truth is that the editing is too tedious for me. Like, I got other stuff to do. So I like just going live. I know how to edit myself in real time. Alfonso Brown, the original Mythbuster. You know what I'm saying? And there was a couple of other people. But I'm saying a couple of conversations that I had with you too, Calm Islamly. I just came to this realization. But you know how you come to the realization of some things, right? And you was doing it right the whole time, but you just come to the realization of how right you was. This is one of those times where I was talking to the brothers and I was having difficulty explaining to them that I don't go by holy men. That you can't tell me that a person was infallible, and so therefore what they saying is not subject to be shown and proven. That we not still going to draw that up according to mathematics and alphabet and see what it add up to weight on the scale. You know what I'm saying? And as I started realizing that, I realized that is what y'all was telling me. Is that you really can't teach about holy books in this day and time. Those stories simply ain't going to resonate with people because they never believed in those books. It's not the same time. Like back in the days on Sunday, you know what I'm saying? Everybody was at church. Everybody was at church. You seen everybody with their moms, their grandmas going to church. And so you had these stories drilled into you. Even once we got the knowledge itself, that's still a part of the baseline, you know, of values and principles and everything that we have. You see what I'm saying? See, now me, I don't teach by those holy books and those holy stories. See what I'm saying? I teach by who I am and who you are. And then we go from there. You see what I'm saying? If you notice with me, that's one of the last things I introduce you to. Is the lessons and the scripture and all that. See, first, this right here is not gonna make me God, it's not gonna make you God. See, me and you being one mind, that's something different than the lessons. We can know the same thing and not be the same mind. But I just now came to an understanding of why y'all have I ain't gonna say y'all have a hard time, but why y'all don't really see. I thought it was the language barrier. See, if you notice, that's what I kept saying. Now you gotta learn how to speak this language. That's what I thought it was. Y'all just didn't speak the language of the scriptures, but it's that y'all never believed in that stuff. You see, all right, now see, calm and calm. Here's where you gotta notice that it's still a fine line, though. This is where it's still a fine line, though. Calm and calm. Calm and calm. He said religious scripture is based on a circular argument, which is logical fallacy. Now, there's elements of that in it, right? But here's the thing you gotta recall, right? Just because somebody tells some lies on you, right? That don't necessarily mean that you never existed. Like, for instance, how many people in here have ever heard that Allah's honorable name was Clarence Jowers Smith? How many people ever heard that? How many people ever heard that the year Allah was birthed in was 1929? How many people ever heard that the 5% was a gang? See, all of these things is things that's been said before. We can prove that they false. That don't mean that Allah never existed. It means that the person who's telling you that story never knew him. And they wasn't there when whatever was going on was occurring. But it don't necessarily mean that Allah never existed. See, it's things that I've seen become fallacy in my lifetime. I was watching a video the other day, right, with what's that white guy's name? Michael Muhammad Knight. And he was giving a talk to some individuals, right? It was like a university setting, and it was some, theological type thing, and he was coming in to present Allah. And in it, he had a couple of fallacies. Amongst them, that Allah's name was Jowers. You see what I'm saying? And he's somebody who he's coming after the time. Meaning, like, look, if one of those people is there, he's like Paul. Well, you wasn't really there when the thing was going on. But now, just because a person can come and prove, right, that different things that he's saying is false, don't mean that those people never existed. See, a lot of these things, you got to remember that you got to be able to separate the shield, right, from the person's actual teachings. You got to be able to separate the shield from the actual truth. So meaning, listen, right now we live in a realm where we got the internet. You know what I'm saying? We got all different types of modes of travel, etc., etc. But if you was in New Orleans, right, at a certain time where you didn't have that type of communication and everybody you knew got flooded out in Katrina, then it might make you think, yeah, this is all over the world happening. So that's why you gotta look at the same thing with all these people. The crack sprinkles, we're gonna get into the crack sprinkles after this. I just had this this just made me think of this rant as like I said, when I thought about that situation where I was like, yo, that is something that I never looked at it in such I never looked at it in that type of compact manner. That you really can't teach from those holy books, you know what I'm saying, and from the words of infallible holy men like you used to, because it's not the same world. You understand what I'm saying? Meaning, like Elijah and far than Elijah, they started teaching from the Bible because that was what the people knew. When you look at 120 lessons, you don't see no Quranic verses quoted in it. You see Bible verses. So all of that kind of dawned on me today that when the Christian church, they telling you how they falling apart, people not attending the church no more, right? That's also a difference that's being made in the 85%. You know what I'm saying? The 85%, they much more likely to have heard the signs of God than I was. You understand what I'm saying? Just growing up, I mean, you heard people with names, K-Born or whatever, but you ain't know what it was about. You know what I'm saying? I seen brothers having a cycle, but it was older kids. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't really, at that time, you didn't mind people's business like that. So yeah, this is true right here. Carmen Lonnie said, insert whatever God you want, right? Said exists because my scripture says it exists, and my scripture is true because it is the word of, into whatever God you want right there. That's true. That's true. You know what I'm saying? But it's also the fact that, listen, You know, if you take away the names and the dates, right? If you take away the names and the dates, do you know a Musa? Do you know a Columbus? Do you know a Yakub? You see, if you know one, then it's hard to say that this person never existed. Just because the person who's writing about them didn't know them doesn't mean that they never existed. And see, you know, the extra stuff that they put on, that was a part of their world. See what I'm saying? Adding on to what you're saying, calm is normally, you understand what I'm saying? Adding on to their world and the way they saw things, right? And the way they didn't have a firm understanding. By they, I mean the devil, right? Didn't have an understanding, right, of things that can't be seen by the physical eye. So in order to tell these stories, the only way for them to understand it from their worldview point of view, right? Their worldview perspective is to deify people, to put all this extra sauce on them. Just like you see them do right now with TV and the movies. They put all this extra sauce on it. So I'm just saying that those people never existed, that's a line you really don't want to cross. Saying that this story that you're telling me about them sounds far-fetched though. But when you look at the actual principles, you understand what I'm saying, that they represent and that they mix together or whatever was they endeavors, you will see that, you know, in fact, these people probably not only existed at the time of that writing, but always existed before that and always existed since then. Calm as well. He said, when I was young, I asked my uncle if the stories we were told from our religious books really happened. He said the point of those stories is to teach history, is to teach Dharma, righteousness. Indeed. And, you know, even that's the thing, you know, that was the common mode, you know, at least in the Western literary, whatever you want to call it, was they should just copy things. Like in terms of stories, that's why it's so many stories that's so similar, because that was just the way people did. But you know, take that to how would you say, you know, keep that in mind when you're doing your teaching. You know, the people that you're encountering, they don't understand, uh, you know, a lot of those holy books and a lot of the stories, they're not as familiar with them. It's not imprinted on them. You know what I'm saying? In the authority of certain individuals throughout time. You understand what I'm saying? Meaning, like, if you tell a Catholic that, listen, there was a meeting of the head bishops and the Pope and all that, and this right here was decided. See, that holds weight with them. I mean, other people, they don't even know, well, what's the penalty, what you want to do if I don't go according to that. That's kind of, where we at right now in terms of people, getting an understanding of what you're saying, understanding with the understanding, right? You got to keep the understanding in mind. What I mean is that you got something that was written in 1934 for people who was highly, highly religious. So see, when you taking things through the stages of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? Uh, you gotta realize who exactly you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Because to a certain degree, that's what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? When you introducing somebody to the knowledge of self, you translating a lot of things and breaking them down so that they can understand it.
What happened? What happened?
As long he said that's why knowledge should be rooted and should be able to be traced back through tradition. It's the best way to ascertain truth. It's the best way to ascertain true value of said knowledge. True value of said knowledge. Now I'm gonna tell you something though. Another thing that, especially now that it's cameras or whatever, even though I guess that could be doctored too, but we can see certain things. You see, you could even be talking about, say, New York City, right? There's certain blocks that, let's say somebody moved onto that block right now and you told them like, yo, man, listen, at one time, this block right here, it was deadly just coming around here. Like this block right here was one of the most dangerous blocks in New York City. Now the person may look on this gentrified block now. Well, it's people outside playing with their little dogs that they put in their pocket. And they like, man, get out of here, man. You don't know what you're talking about. Or it could be vice versa. You could run into somebody and they like, yo, man, this block right here, man, used to be like middle class, man. We used to come outside, play, all that. And now what you're seeing is, it's shootouts every day. Now you got to put that on top of the fact that you got somebody, right? I'm talking about now in world history. You got somebody who is deliberately trying to obscure certain aspects of history, namely the ones that he ain't got nothing to do with. So that's why at certain times, you may hear something that seems like folklore, but that could be the actual science. And the science that may be based on that original desire to, conceal the accomplishments of everybody except the color man. But that was my that was my epiphany for the day. But now we can get into this other part. Jam just came in. King Shop, peace to the guys. You know what I'm saying? Everybody do the each one, teach one, click the like button. And if you got your Facebook and Twitter or whatever, Apex Cypher, the other HC. If you got your Facebook and Twitter or whatever, share this on your other page from, you know what I'm saying? If you're new to the channel out there, subscribe. But now, another thing I was reading the news, little news excerpts today, and I seen it appears that they sprinkle crack. They've it's been crack sprinkles all across everything that's been going on for the whole year. So I don't know if y'all understand what I mean. But it was a comedian. It might have been Dave Chappelle that he told a joke a long time ago. He said, "Look, every time they find a black person dead, they sprinkle a little crack on them and make it drug related." And I'm starting to notice how, in terms of, the different reasons that it's been for the rebellions. You know what I'm saying? Different brothers, being murdered by the police. You know what I'm saying? Or by it was Dave Chappelle, right? That said that. You know what I'm saying? Right. See, Jammy Jam understands what I'm saying. You see, all of a sudden now, the brother in Wisconsin had the knife in his hand. The district attorney said it was recovered from the car. But now the union and the police story is that he had the knife in his hand and he had a warrant for sexual assault. And that was the reason that they needed to apprehend him so desperately. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you've heard the Minnesota. I'm sure Jammy Jam has heard with George Floyd now. They saying that George Floyd died of fentanyl. He didn't die from whatever happened. No, it was the fentanyl. You know what I'm saying? With Breonna Taylor, it's she dealt with thugs, and she dealt with thugs, and the boyfriend that she had, he fired off a shot. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why, they return fire. With Ahmaud Arbery, it was, this history of shoplifting arrests, arrests for smoking, arrest for smoking marijuana, or, police contact for smoking marijuana, somewhere where he wasn't supposed to be. You know what I mean? You know, and with the other brother, I mean, he they kind of sprinkled the crack on the ground and then he rolled around in it, because he did what he did. But the other brother down in Georgia in the Wendy's parking lot, right? He was drinking and driving, and then he shot the taser. And he rumbled with him too. Has anyone else noticed? Has anyone else noticed these things? We're talking about Sean Bell. Supposedly he had an argument inside the club with some other cats or something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Trayvon Martin had a hoodie. You understand what I'm saying? But as you see what's coming up, though, what's happening. See, a lot of this stuff, it may not be making the news. I don't know why not, but it's a lot of this is what you got to look at is the defense that the officers is planning on putting up. Yo, the God I be, I was watching Sonetta. Y'all know I go on Sonetta. I go like months without watching them, and I watch them for like a couple of days straight. Just kind of catch up. And it was something I was watching. I think I think it was about polygyny. Is that what it is? And a brother named the God I be called in. And I was like, I wonder if that's the God I be that come on in my channel. That's yeah, I was checking out Mean Gene. That was you? What was that topic again? Yeah, Black Justice. I have brought that up. That's what they saying now. That they came to they saying that the police came to the scene where Blake was because over there was the place that he sexually assaulted someone, and he had a order of protection against him, and so they called in because of that. Oh, you was on the Manosphere one. Yo, the Manosphere one, yo, it was going good for a while, and then it was like, oh man. So I don't even want to talk about it because you know it's a Hotep channel. But oh man, they started saying things I didn't expect. They started saying things on there I didn't expect. Yeah, man. I was like, oh man, this is see, mess up my whole channel. Mess up my whole channel, man. Dealing with this right here, man. It's crazy. But that's a different topic for a different day. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm saying, what does this mean for the progress? And by the way, I don't know what happened with that situation, but the lady, the the colored woman who killed the brother in his house down in Texas, I think it was Houston. She claimed that she went in the wrong house by mistake. She just filed for an appeal. So, you know, she had only got 10 years from the jump, right? And then she's appealing that now. Yeah, Amber Geiger, that's her. You understand what I'm saying? But they saying that happened on a different day. Now listen, this is a Hotep channel. This is a Hotep channel. And listen, you know, I'm reading this in the paper. And you know how that goes. You understand what I'm saying? You know, you could have read what you're saying in a different paper, right? Uh, you know, in the paper that I read, it said that he sexually assaulted her and then ran out the house, and then her car was missing, and then she noticed her keys was missing because she chased him outside. And then she said that she's known him for 8 years, and he assaults her like twice a year when he gets drunk. Now, I'm I'm asking. I'm asking. When you apply mathematics to that, when you apply supreme mathematics to that, where does that leave y'all? What is, you know, I don't want to break the rules of Hotep. What do they call it? The rules jewels of my eye. Yeah. Did I leave that part out? King Shot? That she said she's known him for 8 years. She's known him for 8 years, and that twice a year, when he gets drunk, he assaults her. Now, when y'all tell me, you know, y'all peace, y'all apply supreme mathematics to this, you know. Before anyone answers, let's just do a disclaimer and say that these views don't necessarily reflect the views of the Random Jews channel. So that's but I'm just saying that look at all these different things that I'm just saying. Sham God said, damn, talking about sprinkle a little crack on it. That's what I'm saying, man. It's sprinkling a little crack on all these cases. And they've also managed to you know, change. They've managed to change the focus, right? And even how they speak about a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, they don't say that the riots, they don't say or the rebellions, the protests, whatever, they don't say that it's for George Floyd no more. They just say it's been going on since he passed away. Eight years, Black Justice. Twice a year. So now what happens if all of this was for nothing? So you remember I said, man, and by the way, I'm still waiting on all the people, you know, where's all the people that said this was all happening so they could institute martial law? All the different things, see, in this day and time, now they you know, you bring up a good point right there, Jammy Jam. How you know, and shout out to the brother and his family, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's not a good thing that you want to hear. You know what I'm saying? But Chadwick Boseman returned to the essence. You understand what I'm saying? And now they you know, that's like the big news about the black man right now. See what I'm saying? Or, you know, now these things is about how much money they making or not making in the NBA. how much money they making or not making in the NFL or the MLB. It's not, and don't get me wrong. I know the brothers is they doing what they can. You know what I mean? What they think is right in terms of not letting it slide. In terms of not letting these things slide. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's easy for them to be used as a tool to distract everything too. You understand what I'm saying? Malik Lowe, that's the word that's the phrase I was looking for. Switching the narrative. You hit that on the money. They've switched all these narratives now to that's what it's about. The big thing, Kenny Smith walked off the what's the name? Like, yeah, but you still going back. You know what I'm saying? It ain't. You understand what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden they found a way to inject Obama into it. Supposedly, LeBron, and you can tell I got a little bit too much time on my hands to even know this stuff. But I'm reading, when I read the news now, I read it on the app on my phone. So I see all types of headlines. Sometimes I get caught up in frivolous stuff. But supposedly it was Obama that talked LeBron out of boycotting for the whole season and said that, we need to use this opportunity to, nah, man, I'm using no opportunity with you. You already had your opportunity. And look what happened. Oh, Sham God. How can I forget that aspect? Hold on. Sham God, wait a minute. Let me just clear this up because hold on. We're about to go into right now. This is a good look. And we going into the second hour. So this is good. Listen, we coming back to this right here, Sham God. Because this is a whole other thing. You know what I'm saying? But the God I be said, he saw Allah be interviewed by Infmega, and he said Allah made the media change slander in the papers that we were anti-white. What you mean he made me do it? Sunday, Thursday, that's what Chuck and Shaq said. What's the long-term plan? Yeah, see, but they two house niggas. You can't hardly listen to them too much, but I mean, in that instance, I guess they've had a point. Farmers normally said that boycott didn't even last 48 hours. No said we got to keep the narrative the same, no mixing, tampering, and diluting. He made them run a retraction. I mean, that's possible. What year was that? But this is something right here. This one right here. This one right here. And this is what I'm saying about has there really been any change? See, because you got a certain formula for work. The formula for work, right, is force times displacement. Meaning you can apply a whole bunch of pressure, right? But if you don't move no matter, If you don't move no matter, you don't have no impact on matter, then you didn't really do any work. Mathematician is in here. How do you measure? Work is measured in joules, right? I think the the unit for work is joules. But check this out though, right here that I left out. Sham God King is bringing up the kid. I think he's in Portland. He shot 2 people in the head. He shot like 2 or 3 other people other than that, right? I saw it, the footage. You know what I'm saying? Like first he had shot somebody in the head and he was running away and people was running behind him saying that he just shot somebody and he fell. And then they went to surround him. He shot another dude in the head, shot another dude like in the shoulder, and he looked like he shot 1 or 2 other people to me. Then he got up and he walked right up to the police, like they had they MRAP vehicle or whatever you call those military hardware vehicles that they had, the armored vehicles. He walks up to them, they drive past him, he walks up to the police car. Now all the while he's got the rifle swinging on his shoulder and people is walking behind him screaming that he just shot some people. And all of the police just rolled right past him. And then, evidently he must have figured, well, I guess, whatever I did was legal and went on home. And then he got arrested, with all the known firepower that he has, right? With the known firepower, not no knife. We talking about Los Angeles County firepower. We talking that West Coast, wild west on the range firepower. He got firepower like this, and he let that thing go off, and he gets arrested. I didn't hear it was no SWAT. Who went to get him? But how did he get arrested? Just one female deputy? But yeah, Sherm Guy points out that there's no uproar that he was out there with an assault rifle and he can't even buy a drink. So is there any bigger signs? When you look at the amount of crack that's been sprinkled on Blake, right? And you look at how this young colored man was able to get away with what he got away with. Ultimately, yeah, he got arrested, but for him to be able to do that in relative peace, is there a bigger example, or what bigger examples could we get now that this opportunity or that opportunity or the opportunity that came up over the summer. See, that was one of the things I was saying from the very beginning. Why, you know, those events right there, that's peace. But what about the hereafter? Let's see, the revolution is not the last days of what's being destroyed. The revolution is day one of the new thing. And so, if your focus was just on these cases, right, we see now that, okay, we might be disappointed. I mean, it's possible that it may go in a different way, but we know that it's also a tremendous possibility because of the things they've been putting out there that things might not go as, the way we might have expected in the summer, over the summer. But we didn't harness any of the other energy, I'm saying. Like that created a certain amount of energy, and you saw that energy being expressed out in the street as anger, right? But some of it should have been harnessed for some other purposes. You know, because this could get ugly. God said there's a video with a 17-year-old kid that did the shooting. Him and his militia, he was a part of a militia from what I understand. He was a part of a militia from what I understand. And God is saying, that there's a video of police giving him and the rest of the militia water before the shooting. So Ice Cube was spitting the real. He said, okay, you're going to get Trump out of office. That happens on day one. What's going to happen after that? I mean, we got to see about that, man. If you got a dog in that fight and you feel like you on the, you feel like you on the Democratic side, your candidate is, he's got some problems. See what happens. I don't think that he's going to be tried as a juvenile. Jamie Jam was saying that at 17, is it possible he might get tried as a juvenile? I mean, I suppose it's possible, but to my knowledge, most states, the age of 16, you start getting tried as an adult. Like Justice said, he walked right past him. It's normal to be a Caucasian with a weapon. boss said he even touched one of the Army military trucks, and all the soldiers told him from the inside the vehicle would stand back. He said it's only illegal for us to carry weapons. Okay, so he turned himself in. The shooter from Portland, it's Portland, right? He turned himself in. So I'm sure this is the way they're going to turn that. Is see, if black people just turn themselves in like that, then they have to get killed. God, we said we need the guys back in the streets teaching the people when he have no direction. This is true. Smell good said, how long will it take these cases to play out? Past November. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Because you're talking about cops, they got those union lawyers and everything. So, by the time they finish with all the motions and all of that stuff, because they've been indicted. Or they've been arraigned. And I'm sure it's all different because these is all different states. You know what I'm saying? But in New York, you could see the judge and be arraigned. You know what you're being charged with and everything, but you're still in like a preliminary where you got hearings and all of that you might be doing. Just all the evidence is being checked to see how strong it is or whatever, and then indicted is when you go to the grand jury. At that point, I mean, it's still hearings over there too, but you're on your way to trial. So I guess it all depends on that right there, you know what I'm saying, what state it is, because some of this stuff has been, like, when's the last time, I haven't seen a story about Ahmaud Arbery in, I haven't seen a story about him in a couple of months. Who the fundraiser for Blake? So there's footage of the 17-year-old that did the shooting. There's footage of him giving hand signs with the police, like working together with them to enforce the curfew. So you think it was like a situation where, they kind of told him to move. God, be said everybody's focused on Trump, but we have not heard much from the legislators. I think, because remember I said this the other day. is that, you know, allowing people to vent and then just doing what you want to do, that's like a common tactic. There's nothing new about that. You know what I'm saying? So right now it's like, okay, they ahead of, you know, they've gotten back ahead of that situation. They got back control of it, you know, to a certain degree. You know what I mean? Yeah, you still got some extremely hot spots, but you don't have the entire nation. You know what I'm saying? You know, remember in those first days after George Floyd, you know, it was like every capital city in America almost. So I think right now, you know, the thing is, you know, it seems like all these things is just gonna pass. You know, and because the energy wasn't harnessed, you know what I'm saying? Like when you had all those people unified out there, but they never, you know, had a purpose or a goal, you know, or you know, a one common cause of what they could accomplish with that unity. You understand what I'm saying? Then, you know, we may have reached the point, you know, where I guess, you know, this kind of righteous indignation or whatever, I suppose it'll carry over to whatever is the next thing. But I'm just saying, uh, the second half of the year is looking quite different than the first half. So wait, Jamie Jam, you saying that the little kid got 72,000 that they fundraised for him? Malik Lowe said measuring the same inch by two different rulers. Hmm. All right, so like Justice said, there's a conservative group that's looking out for the kid that did the shooting. Yo, hip hop, man, you haven't been paying attention, man. Portland is like a mini war zone now or something. At least that's the way they portraying it in the news out here. You know, like every night they attacking the different precincts. You know, City Hall. Uh, One place I heard they try to attack the mayor's residence. And during the protest that was going on out there, this 17-year-old kid ended up, he killed, what did he kill? Two people or three people? He shot up some others. So that's another part of the dynamic going on over there now. Like Justice said, what he did was a federal crime because he crossed state lines and he's not old enough to have a gun permit. That's he did cross state lines twice. Uh, oh yeah, that's true. So that's right. He didn't shoot the people in Portland. He shot the people in Kenosha. That's right. I stand corrected. He's from Antioch, Illinois.
Hmm.
Fine. Right, I heard about this part too, Latif, where the militia group that the 17-year-old kid was a part of, they had asked the sheriff to be deputized, but they got turned down. But knowledge is saying that these was military type hand gestures that they was doing with the cops. So, maybe the higher ups realized that these dudes is volatile, but they might have been used by they might have been used by some individuals that was, their boots on the ground, you know, which would uh, it kind of flows smoothly, with the fact that they just rolled past him and didn't do nothing to him. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, yo, uh, what you did, you wasn't supposed to do it on camera and everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, but right now the plan the whole time was to let you go in there and catch some kind of wreck, but then let you get away. You know what I'm saying? But I guess him being a bonehead, he can't get that right. Oh man, that's not a good sign. Like Justice said, the Wisconsin chief of police said if protesters had abided by the curfew, this shooting wouldn't have happened. Mm. Knowledge of law said, my opinion, down in Kenosha, Wisconsin, it's a no-win. They have military on deck rolling in convoys, so unless you got some military equipment to deal with them, there's no wins. Military presence has been heavy down in Kenosha for over a month and a half. I'm in Kenosha as we speak. Mm. And what they've been doing down there is that some type of training place, or is there like a military base near there? True Self said the way he understands it, the 17-year-old was a part of an armed militia called to arms. Mm. Reed said at the march yesterday, they said the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act has been passed in the House of Representatives but has stalled in the Senate. Nobody is speaking about that. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? See, that's how they do. That's also a tactic. Let somebody do what they want to do, right? And then little by little you dismantle it. But then one of the things about the way you dismantling it is you doing it at such a slow rate that they don't really realize. You know, you're doing it a little bit behind the scenes. And you know how they say, you know, if you put a bullfrog in boiling water, he'll jump out the pot. But if you put him in warm water and just heat it up a little bit at a time, that they won't notice until it's too late. Now, I don't know if that's true or not because I don't boil bullfrogs. But what I'm saying about how, yeah, they'll let the news story be whatever. And then slowly behind the scenes, they'll be working to erode that. You know, that's one of the political complaints right now is that, yeah, you passed all this stuff in the 60s, but then you did all this other stuff behind the scenes to quietly erode that. And by the time it got around to people counting up the numbers, it's too late. Man, they say he killed two and shot one person's arm off. Man, like Justice in the Senate is Blue Lives Matter right now. Nothing moving legislative wise until after the election. The Republican senator has hitched their wagons to Trump's horse for a straight ticket re-election. You know what that also got to do with? See, representatives, right, is a lot more sensitive to how the people really feel. So you'll find a lot of things of that nature. The representatives, you know, they directly elected. There's no electoral college or no special rules whatsoever for the House of Representatives. You know what I'm saying? You know, whereas the senators, that's a little more. It's direct right now. It wasn't always direct. At one time, the senators, like into the early 1900s, the senators was elected by the state legislatures. But at this point, right now, in a statewide election, say you take a state like New York, right? You gotta kind of, you can't really be on one side or the other because you got New York City that got a lot of votes, but the whole upstate New York is mostly Republican. You understand what I'm saying? So, a person gotta, kind of be a little more balanced. So, like you said, with them, they're gonna want to be like, nah, right now is not the time because we don't want to offend, our upstate constituents right now. Whereas in the House of Representatives, It's more like, nah, you're here to represent the people. So they've raised $187,000 for this kid's defense, huh? Who got the bubonic? I mean, that's a point. That's a point, Malik Lowe. All right, so now July said it's military base down in Kenosha, right? All right, so, well, I mean, yeah, I guess it's pretty quick for them to mobilize if they got a military base already there. Chief said they arrested him because he caught colored people. I mean, they have war with each other too. Al-Kim Salam is out there in Milwaukee too. Yeah, tokenism is a part of that. Where uh, where individual's progress or individual's accomplishments, right, is put into place. It's the illusion is created that somehow that's showing the accomplishments and progress of the group. You know what I'm saying? But in reality, this is just a token. God I said if that was part of a legit militia, they left their little homie on stuff. I think what happened. I think they shot somebody in the head, and when everybody moved to get out of there, I think he went the wrong way. Al-Kim Salam, you in Connecticut? Well, I thought you was in Milwaukee.
My professor's in Milwaukee.
Zimmerman got away with killing our future. And he did get away with it.
It's in contact with you.
All right.
Hold on. Let me put the open it up. Where's the wordsmith?
This is it.
Wordsmith not in effect today. You with what truth? NFAC? What's NFAC? All right, yeah, tell true. I said peace, man. Talking about the old school crew. We all at by the Dairy Queen. I mean the what's that? The Five Guys? Man, that's not what NFAC means. Uh, wait, real hip hop is right. Not not effing around crew. And who are these the dudes that was up on Stone Mountain 50 years 50 years after any Klan presence? Oh, Bub finally came home? Man, yeah, Bub pulled a serious bit. Where JR at? So yeah, the dudes that went up there to Stone Mountain. I mean, listen, man. You know, uh, and let me do a disclaimer right now. You know, for those that may misunderstand. You know, I'm not telling you to act crazy,
Why are you looking at me?
but I'm looking at you.
I want to fuck this.
But Jay in the desert. What are you doing in the desert?
Probably dying of thirst.
But you know, listen. You know, logistics is just logistics. Like, I don't know how many, you know, you got a couple thousand, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But you know, when you facing a force of millions, you know, this type of broadcasting may not be the best strategy. You know, I'm not sure what they, you know, idea of everything is. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Nas Allah said Bell Brothers in Stone Mountain. Who's the Bell Brothers? Whoa. 793rd said there's footage of the leader of the NFAC at a Trump rally throwing someone out. So either he's that spook or a provocateur. And Jay's in the rehab center. It's crazy. He still go over there by Broadway. Who the NFAC is supposed to be ex-military? Yeah, I must have missed that the last time you said it. The leader, has anyone else seen that footage? That the leader of the NFAC at a Trump rally throwing someone out. I certainly didn't catch that. Real Hip Hop said they were not ex-military, only a small group who led a rally. You know, I mean, to me, it's a little too much posturing. Like exactly who's behind it and what they trying to accomplish. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even pay them too much mind. You know what I'm saying? To really build up, like a viewpoint on them. You know what I'm saying? But just in general, like Justice said, broadcasting isn't good. There are some colored militia groups with high grade firepower. So according to Grandmaster Jay, so Grandmaster Jay is the guy that's throwing somebody out at the Trump rally. Now July said he just seen a military convoy headed from Milwaukee to Kenosha. Man, I mean, see, my thing is, look, you gotta admit it's a certain amount of posturing in what they do. You know what I'm saying? You know, uh, you going to the Klan place, but there ain't been no Klan there in 50 years. You understand what I'm saying? Or just where it's ample situations. Like if you wanted to pop out as security, there's already been opportunities to pop out. They went to the headquarters of the KKK. Where? In Stone Mountain? Or there's some other thing that I don't know about? They escorted by the police. Who's escorted by the police? Who you saying that about 793rd is being escorted by the police? Is there some kind of time lag going on here? Yeah, I suppose so. That day, they so-called marched to the park. You know what I'm saying? Who's they? Nah, I didn't see the footage. Stone Mountain. Yeah, nah, that was like the rebirth place of uh of the Klan. You know, I'm not all that well versed on their history, but they they fell apart in the I guess during the depression or something like that. You know, at some point they fell apart. And membership like dwindled. And then some dudes went up to Stone Mountain because at that time, like in the 20s and all of that, they was the headquarters I think was in Indiana. And then, something happened where they went through something, it died down, and then some dudes went up to Stone Mountain and burned the cross with the uniforms on and revived it. But there's no clan on. I'm saying that listen, you know, we all know who the ops are. Like if they want to pop out, pop out. But I'm saying this right here, look, 793rd said the NFAC is being escorted by the police. And see, now look, I didn't even know this, but pretty much that's where I was at when I said for the jump that look, I haven't really paid them no mind. You know what I'm saying? And under those type of conditions, I don't think, like what kind of factor could they possibly be? They being escorted by the police. You know what I mean? On some level or another, what you're doing is being a little bit too directed for me. You know what I'm saying? The amount of media coverage that you get, the way you're being covered, you know what I'm saying? Meaning, what are they? What are they? How are they referred to? Like what's the most? Are they being referred to as a gang? No. They being referred to as something. And see that's where you get where I said, now look, maybe they don't know what they're doing, but covering them as a black militia, you putting them on the news, even though they're being escorted by the police. See, that's one of the probably most scary things for you to call them to mainstream America. But if they being escorted by police, like I'm paying you for protection and you paying somebody else for protection. What's going on here? What's they sprinkle a little crack on everybody, make them drug related right now. God, I said the police escort any protests. I mean, uh, can somebody who's supposed to be a military force afford that? Like what is their point when they give interviews and say what their point is? What's their point? Like what are they trying to do? What are they trying to accomplish? Like I didn't want to bring this up, Al-Kim Salam. You see, listen, they trying to be serious. Listen, don't make them look ridiculous. Men in their capacity cannot be made to look ridiculous. But yeah, Al-Kim Salama, I heard about the friendly fire incident. I was trying to leave that out, but that pretty much was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. You know, you having friendly fire, at your own protests. It's not a good look. it's not a good look, man. I I, I it's 793rd. You remember in Superman 2 when Lois Lane fell off the building and Superman caught her and Superman said, I got you. And then she said, yeah, but who's got you? Oh man, why you brought that up? Because you ain't right, man. You ain't right. You ain't have to do them like that. You know. But you know, these are the kind of things that I'm saying where it's like, you know, you gotta be on point. You understand what I'm saying? Like everybody's gotta start somewhere, but you gotta be on point. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't know, man. Listen, if uh if they the military for us, we don't need enemies. No enemy need raise their sword against us if they are you know uh but yeah, that's but Jammy Jam asked a good question in here. How do we solve for the variable? So what are you saying is the variable? You know, how do we solve the situation? You know, um, I think we've arrived at that point where there's no fixing it. You know what I'm saying? Where you actually got to start from the foundation and just do it the right way. You know how it's sometimes, you know, you might could erase one digit that you made a mistake in the math problem, but then sometimes just the way the problem is, it did not cause other mistakes and everything where it's like, yo, you know what? Just start from scratch. You know, and the first thing it comes with education, man. You know what I'm saying? Just you know, just like the first step that they dealing with in society is to, you know, make you blind, deaf, and dumb through whatever means that they have. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's the school system, whether it's TV, whether it's music, the internet, whatever, you know, that's one of their first goals is to dumb you down in your youth. You know what I'm saying? In the time when you most inquisitive, you know, when your learning skills is the most acute. You know what I'm saying? Now, Jalal said there's a suggestion from Neely Fuller Jr. No colored friends unless you're doing business with them or they're doing business with you. Also, stick to your code. You know, um, uh, it really comes down to, uh, you know, having to build a society. You know what I'm saying? Like I said quite a few times on here before, you know, in terms of what we got to do, the blueprint, you know what I'm saying, exists in Reconstruction. It's the green one. The blueprint exists uh, in Reconstruction. You know what I'm saying? In that era. You understand what I'm saying? In the way brothers was able to build. You know what I'm saying? From scratch, you know, guaranteed the conditions was less harsh than they was before, but they still was harsh conditions. You know what I'm saying? You know, and that's kind of the point that we at right now. I'm talking about as a, you know, a society, you know what I'm saying, as a group of men, women, and children for one common cause. You know, I would like to see I would like to see what those comparisons look like. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen statistics where they say that all of the all of the gains that was made by at least men, but I'm quite sure it applies to women too. But all of the gains that uh, was the benefit of the civil rights legislation from the '60s has been lost now. And whatever gain it was, you know, meaning economically, you know, whatever was their criteria for measuring. But I would like to see, you know, what is that measurement? You know, if you measure that against, you know, just coming out of slavery, and then not just that, but also the progress that was made. You know what I'm saying? You know, before, you know, I would get into any type of NFAC type thing. Because see, even with them, they need a society to support them. And that goes with any military. They need a society to support them, right? Or they doing what's called living off the fat of the land. And listen, a disclaimer, I don't want no crazy people taking these tactics and trying to go out there and act crazy. But other than that, if they don't have a society to support them, then they got to support themselves at the expense of whatever society they in the midst of, whether it's a friendly society or an enemy society. That's how they got to support themselves. Like that's why uh, that's one of the things in the Constitution is that the military is not allowed to come stay at your house. The military basically used to be able to commandeer your farm, come in, eat up all your provisions, stay at your house, and you know they didn't want that happening no more. So the same thing with these brothers, you know, if they don't have no society to support them, you know, that's gonna it's gonna create, you know, the difficulties. Not saying they can't overcome it, but that makes it more difficult. Now, July said also, did you hear about those guys in Stone Mountain saying they wanted to fight for some land to have just for black people? Nah, I didn't hear about that. Is this the same people? The God Al-B said, was the Boston Tea Party considered a riot or looting? Um, the way I recall it, it was considered a riot. Um, I think probably the because I mean, as the story goes, they threw the tea in the lake, in the whatever the harbor. But and most of the things that I read about it, it was considered a riot. Now, Kim Salon said the British considered it a riot. But who's the people? Who's the people saying they wanted to fight for some land to have just for black people? The NFAC, who just had the friendly fire incident, saying want to fight for some land just for black people. The NFAC said they want Texas for black people. God Al-B said the oppressor will always consider it a riot, but the people fighting will consider it fighting back. That's what we are faced with. And who they planning on fighting for Texas? I mean, I don't really want to put them on blast. I don't know if that's appropriate in this forum, but um, is there any like approximation on how many members there are of the NFAC? Blackistan, huh? Why not? Why not Plexus? I think I like Plexus better. I'm just saying who they supposed to be fighting. See, this is what I'm saying. I don't want to make people start acting crazy. I don't want. I'm here to teach people about love, peace, and happiness, and not death, hell, and destruction. You understand what I mean? We not dealing with Armageddon. But I'm just saying that there's things that must be considered. They have over 10,000 nationwide. Now, as Allah said, the leader of them is saying stuff like there are so many different factions of them, you will never understand them. They claim that most of them are ex-military and ex-law enforcement and martial artists. There's someone on YouTube trying to start a Blackistan. But this is what I'm saying. Look, some things you got to deal with reality. Does the young man, how old is this brother, Grandmaster Jay? Let's start right there. Before I say, yeah, because I'm starting out with young man. God, our beast said we don't really have to fight for territory. We can just move there en masse like the Great Migration. See, that's using your head. But does anyone know how old Grandmaster Jay is? Shout out to Grandmaster Jay. Grandmaster Jay is like 50. All right. I don't a lot of times I don't condone y'all conspiracy theories, but I think this time, listen, I think I'm ready to accept whatever theory about him y'all got. Because I'm saying, look, his bottom line. Does the big brother understand how many guns are in the state of Texas? Does he have any idea how many police forces and military bases there are in the state of Texas? Oh man, the Mythbuster. You missed it, man. Dude, man, we had a whole session, man. You definitely went to our Miss crew today. That's Jam Master J, the DJ Jammy Jam. Not that Jam Master. Not this Jam Master J. Yeah, I don't know, man. YouTube conspired against you and then send you the alert. But we went in on one of your favorite topics. Your original myth busting topic. Kim Salam said he said it in the context of Elijah calling for the South for black people. Real Hip Hop said he trying to bank on fame while getting people incarcerated for trumped up gun charges. Yo, like if you ever need security for any reason, Hi, Real Hip Hop 216. Real Hip Hop 216 is he's the most suspicious person I think I ever met. Yeah, Alfonso Brown. We was speaking on the historicity of different characters in the holy books, and yeah, I had an epiphany about a lot of the questions that y'all have, you know, and just that, um, the indoctrination is not as strong today into Christianity the way it was when, I was coming into the knowledge. So a lot of things was explained to us, in the terms, like even when you look at 120 lessons, you see Bible verses in it, not verses from the Quran. But the Bible was the book and the stories that we knew. You know what I'm saying? And being introduced to it at such a young age is kind of ingrained in you. So they use that knowledge to, get their point across. You know what I'm saying? But there is a fine line, right, between saying that the stories that exist about these people in these holy books is false, and saying that that person never existed. See, there's people right now, all types of people that you know, uh, even if it's different aspects of their life, you know what I'm saying? It might not be, you know,
Peace. You up?
it might not be, their whole life, but just the same way with, Martin Luther King or Malcolm X.
I'm heading up there.
Right?
All right.
They lock in on certain parts of their life and kind of boost them up.
All right, text me.
But just because it's a falsehood, right? Or just because it's misleading the parts of the story they choose to emphasize, it doesn't mean that the person didn't really exist. You know what I'm saying? They just might not have existed at that time. Like the people who's telling you the lie, who's telling you that they was there. Nah, y'all never was in the room really together, but that doesn't mean that the person never existed at some other time, and real people do real things and not necessarily this mysterious activity that you ascribe to. You see what I'm saying? Because when we look in real life, right, meaning around us right now as we walking and talking, right, in the planet, we see that these people do in fact exist. You know what I'm saying? There's really dudes, people walking amongst you that if you take away the names, you know what I'm saying? Take away the dates, right? Take away the split in the Red Sea. You're gonna see that there's people amongst you that's like Moses. Now, see, with Columbus, it's not that easy to prove that Columbus really existed. He's in a lot of people's writings, but there's not really a lot of contemporary, like nobody knows who Christopher Columbus' parents are. Like I'm saying, what the person's name is. And a lot of other people, Socrates, Plato, you know, that there existed, you know, two dudes that basically illuminated the whole of Greece, maybe, you know, in the way that they did it. And that's a tendency of the colored man, is to deify things and people when they tell a story, because that's the way they see things from their perspective. You see what I'm saying? Like if you living in the caves, you eating raw meat, you walking on all fours, right? Now, here comes somebody walking in front of the caves, you know, they smelling Irish Spring fresh, you know, they taking baths and everything, you know, they got fire, they cooking, they cooking out, you know, they got clothes on, they ain't all hairy. This person is gonna seem like a god to you. How you how you get all that? That was the only way for them to understand things. There's a lot of stories that they got like that. Like, see, that's one of the destructive factors that Ptolemy. Yo, bring me a fork from down there. That's one of the destructive factors that Ptolemy had on the Egyptian Empire. Is that at that time, right? Whoever was the pharaoh, whoever was the king of Egypt, right, was a god. And so when Ptolemy and them showed up, they wanted to be gods. And they going all around to the different temples telling people, yo, make me a god. And people like, nah, man, not even possible. Then he started killing certain individuals because they didn't comply. And then a lot of them, they just started shutting the schools down. But they've been doing that even into the Roman Empire, right? In all these different things where they searching for, you know, Shangri-La and you know, the Garden of Eden, the Holy Grails and the fountains of youth and all these different things. Because they know that this stuff is not possible just coming from your world. So they put all this other, you know, they took creative license. You know, but just because they took creative license, that don't mean that that person never existed or that thing never happened. The Pizzy 2323 say your wisdom and knowledge is so deep. I wish your thoughts and opinions could be shared on a major platform. That's positive because you know, usually most of the time we put the knowledge before the wisdom, but that's you know, all we can do is what we've been doing, you know, share it on your you know, platform, you know, if you got Facebook or Twitter or whatever, you know, I greatly appreciate that. And you know, if you're new to the channel, join. Have fun. Alfonso Brown said, can possibly have been deifying two places, sources of which of knowledge in which they founded their civilization upon. It could be that too. You know what I'm saying? It definitely could be that. But see, now you're getting into the language. You understand what I'm saying? Knowing how to speak that language. That's exactly what it comes down to. So wait, knowledge a lot. You driving in the midst of the convoy now? Better get away from them. I don't play that. Alfonso Brown said I was raised behind the lines. Behind what lines? And you think this is regular, or is something in particular going on in Kenosha right now? Because that's kind of a lot of a lot of cars going in that direction. Does anybody know what the population of Kenosha is? Population is probably around 11,000. $100,164. Man. See, the thing about them is in a place like that, just where they at, it almost seemed like that's like a good place to test out all new kinds of tactics. Yeah, that's where the protesting is occurring. But I'm saying, just in terms of, it's certain things like some things like, see, they wild in Seattle, right? But Seattle is the kind of place where it's an international city. You know what I'm saying? Where you got all kinds of people there. You know what I'm saying? Uh, like New York City is it's like a type of place where, if something happens, if say they was to get heavy handed, that's going on international news. Kenosha, at least from my perspective, is a little more insulated. Even in, Minneapolis, because a lot of these places, especially if they got like Seattle, like I'm saying, right? They got a lot of computer stuff there. So just on the strength of that, you got people that's coming from all over the world just to work in that industry. You know what I mean? You got people that, okay, they might make Microsoft computers here. So then this other Chinese company that make something that Microsoft needs, they might build a plant right next to them. And so you would have all those people, all those eyes on them, witnessing that happened. Okay, Salam says Seattle has professional protesters with training is their thing. Listen, I told you these people have been, I've been seeing them since the late 90s. The original man makes up 11.46% of the population in Kenosha. But yeah, Al-Kim Salam, I've been seeing these people since the late 90s. You know what I'm saying? And they've kind of honed their skills and talents. Like at first, they was just coming out there. They might break a few windows or whatever. But these are the same people that you've been seeing at the G20s and the the Bilderberg groups and all of these different things. You know what I'm saying? And all of these different groups or all of these different causes, specific causes, but they found whatever common thread they need to find, and now they, a professional organized force. But at the end of the day, look, the people they protesting against is professional too. You know what I'm saying? Like, is the protesters always supposed to be the unwashed masses? They're supposed to be building a big Chinese plant called Foxconn in Kenosha. I wonder what Foxconn does. Alfonso Brown said the shooting was an extreme escalation in the course of events that have been occurring. The shooting meaning the far right shooter who was a part of the militia. Oh yeah, we was covering that a minute ago. Well, I mean, did you see it as like an escalation, like something that was done in order to escalate things? Or do you see it as just because the way I initially see it is that it just kind of illustrates that there hasn't been much change. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the beginning of the summer, right? At the beginning of the summer, we had a situation where, first, the situation happened with Ahmaud Arbery, right? With some citizens feeling that, they could just shoot down some people, they shot down Ahmaud Arbery like that. And then you had the George Floyd situation, even though they kind of got introduced to the public in the opposite order. And then now it's like we right back where, brothers been killed, right? And, we got a situation with a shooter who, he feels like, he needs to take, I'm saying in terms of both of them feeling like, we here defending the community. As well as the brother saying, that right now, the George Floyd, whatever federal legislation it was supposed to be, is stalled out now in the Senate. All right, so Foxconn makes motherboards. The Pizzy said, I've been listening to you for a minute, and the way you make it all come together is, yeah, simple logic. You know, Pizzy, see, I got the knowledge at a young age. So, you know, I had to kind of take the big concepts that, you know, because I'm going around the net, you know what I'm saying, when I'm learning. So, you know, they presenting concepts to me, things that they've been through that I haven't even gotten to that point in life yet. You see what I'm saying? And so, you know, that was always what you know, that was something that I strive to do, is always simplify things down so I can understand it. And that's the way I give it. Alfonso Brown said they were not a part of a militia, lone wolves, different equation. So I believe he may have been Rouge. Which Rouge? You see, when you say a militia, do you think the organized effect? Because there was a brother earlier saying that he saw some footage where there was some hand signs that was given between the shooter and the police, and that he thought those hand signs looked like some military stuff. So if you're saying that, you know, you think it was like some greater degree of coordination, but anytime you got colored people and they talking and they out with their guns or with their bats or their knives or whatever, and they talking about, you know, we gotta protect, you know, our society. That's the militia. Whether they the Klan, you know what I'm saying, whoever it is, that's a militia. They just may not call themselves that no more. I know that's one of the first things that comes to mind for me is that like all of the steam from this year was lost, like all of the energy that was built up, you know, it just kind of got vented out. You know what I'm saying? That energy wasn't harnessed, right, for nothing else except just, you know, the anger. You know what I'm saying? And see, just going from situation to situation, right? You know, like we had those situations, and then we have some indignation. Then some time passed, and then another situation happened, and we have some indignation. You know, is maintaining the status quo. See, that's what the part where it says crack sprinkles, right? The crack sprinkles part of the title, you know, that's what that was about. See what I'm saying? Where there was a joke by Dave Chappelle where he said, you know, every time a black person, they find a black person dead, they sprinkle crack on him and make it drug related. You know, why is every black person that dies, why is it drug related? So when you look at these different cases, have you seen how, you know, like for instance, right now, they saying that George Floyd didn't die from compression. At least that's what his legal team is saying. He died from fentanyl. You know, with this brother, the thing that happened in Kenosha, they saying that, you know, he had a knife in his hand and he was, you know, they actually was called to the scene because he was violating an order of protection and he had a warrant out for his arrest in a sexual assault case. You know, with the brother that got shot in the parking lot in Wendy's, you know, of course he got into a fight with them and then he fired the taser at him. You know, with Breonna Taylor, it's that you associated with thugs and you know your boyfriend fired a shot at us when we was executing our no knock warrant. And so, you know, yeah, all of these charges went out and people became appeased and everything went back to the status quo. You know, and like I've been saying for a minute, you know, just across the board, how, you know, at the, you know, probably you could say starting from like this time last year, you know, you were seeing talk about reparations, right? Being some of the main talk at each one of the presidential debates, you know, on the Democratic side. You know, and it was even seeping over to the Republican side where Republicans were starting to be asked about reparations. You know, all of that steam, you know, have you noticed how that's been derailed to a large extent? You know what I'm saying? You know, even these you know, it was brother Malik Lowe earlier. He helped me out by reminding me of the phrase controlling the narrative. So that now this situation has quickly, you know, it morphs quickly into, you know, are they going to be playing basketball or not? You know, how much money is the NFL going to lose if this X amount of games is boycotted? So the actual focus becomes different. See, while Martin Luther King was about, you know, okay, peaceful protests, you see, they emphasize the peace and not so much the protest. See, because the protest side, yeah, we want to be peaceful, but that don't mean we not angry. So anytime that anger part of the protest gets shown, right, then we get redirected to the peaceful part of him having a dream that everybody get along. Knowledge Allah said, as soon as black people try to protect the hood, here comes a whole bunch of white folks saying, what hood? If you don't own this area, this is our neighborhood. Darkim Salam said Bensonhurst got militia. Bensonhurst has militia. Howard Beach, et cetera, et cetera. Alice said in Milwaukee they would have been all good except for the police battered and bruised the Milwaukee Bucks player by the name of Sterling Brown. He's in court. Oh yeah, that was another thing which we was just speaking on that. But um yeah, I've seen some of those too. But we were saying how that happened even in Kenosha with the shooter, you know what I'm saying, who, clearly the way he was dealt with, walking down the street with people yelling behind him that he just shot somebody, you know, I mean, you're supposed to be here observing these people to make sure the riot don't get out of control and these, shotgun blasts go off and you didn't hear that. But yeah, true self, I've been seeing that too, where they had different instances of, colored people that, they get into all types of scuffles and fights and things of that nature. And, it doesn't result in them getting shot in the back 7 times, you know. Right. Alfonso Brown said there was an entire congressional hearing on whether or not to form a committee that would look into forms of reparations. I was just discussing with my father about the strategic decision to kill Malcolm before Martin. Hmm. Oh, busy. Thanks for supporting the stream. I didn't let me check. Yeah, no doubt, Biz. That's that's good looking. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Pizzy and everybody else that supports the stream. You know, because all these programs and everything. Cause I gotta do some other stuff. I'm gonna start getting some other stuff. I gotta get one of those lights. But yeah, shout out to Pizzy, man. Appreciate that. Um, I never looked at it like that. You're saying that was a strategic decision to kill Malcolm before Martin. You have to expand on that one day. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? How all the talk of reparations. Um, I even think you know, going back and picking Kamala Harris, I think was kind of a thing that was like, yeah, we can still take these people for granted. After she was, soundly rejected. I mean, you gotta remember in the primary, she didn't even win her own state. She didn't even win her own state in the primary. She didn't win the black vote anywhere. So who is she expected to deliver? And who is she expected to deliver for once she gets in there? Who is she expected to deliver in terms of voters, and then who is she expected to deliver for? Kim Salam said if they killed Martin first, they would have completely legitimized Malcolm in the NOI. I mean, that would have been like an "I told you so" kind of moment. But I'm saying this is like is this like documented or something? Alfonso Brown said if they kill Malcolm first, there would be no one to keep the rest in line, and pacifists. Now they did kill Malcolm first. You mean if they kill Martin first, there would be no one to keep the rest in line, and pacifists. They would have potentially been. They would have potentially been confident to embrace Malcolm's tactics, especially during grief and anger. Um, I'm saying, where's this train of thought coming from? Like, this is something that's been expressed by, like people that worked in the FBI, or this is, because I never heard this before. So y'all saying y'all observe this as y'all saying y'all absorb this as the reasoning. Like y'all drew this up as the reasoning. Or you saying that you've this is like FBI ID.
The text.
Or you just using compensatory logic. Right, that's what I'm saying. So y'all both came to this conclusion. Like y'all was speaking about this, or y'all both came to this conclusion on your
From the God. Make sure you show him to them. It's from the God divine. He's a distributor.
own?
He's got these. I'm the one who been messing with rap. He said he did branding for Lord Jamar and a few other people in the industry.
Who the brother that was here?
Yeah. Here's his card if you wanna. That's not his card. I gave it to Divine. Oh, here it is. Here's his card. Here's his picture on his card.
How much you?
I didn't get the call from him. He's a distributor, so I guess you have to talk to the man himself. Yeah. And he's seeking to get these out. This is his brand. Billionaire head of hemp wraps. 100% hemp. And the God bless us with a box.
So these
are yours.
I mean, that's understandable. I mean, it's definitely not something I can argue with, you know what I mean? But just, whenever somebody tell me something, I had to go through all the things that I know to
There's 2 pale ales in the refrigerator.
because that's one thing I'm thinking is that
I drink that wine that was in there.
At that time, you gotta remember,
It was just like a scene.
I don't know if 64, 65, 66. I don't know if Martin was a problem yet.
They were watching us.
You know what I'm saying? Like they still, Malcolm was still, I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, we had to agree on that, is that he wasn't a problem yet, because he was being that counterbalance to the anger out there. You know, the counterbalance to the anger, right, on the one hand, and the fear on the other hand. You know what I'm saying? Because it was an older generation that didn't want to be involved. You know, it was an older generation that was like, look, you're just going to cause Black Wall Street to happen out here. So we don't really want to be agitating them. Malcolm was, I'm talking about just, just on the everyday. You being more of a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta remember in the 60s, you got the Cold War going strong. And America is out there telling all these other countries, listen, you gotta handle your business better. You gotta handle your business better. You got to stop oppressing your people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that was a sore spot. Is smell good still in the chat? Alfonso Brown said they were both seen as threats. Then you had to play out the scenarios and implication of elimination. Or, I mean, he was a threat, but he was the friendly threat. Like at that time, he was the threat that could be controlled. You know what I'm saying? I'm just talking about their time-worn tactics. You know what I'm saying? Where they try to control any revolution, you know what I'm saying, by introducing, a faction of the revolution which is under their control. See, God's side of the mind, you're gonna have to catch it on the rebound. Cause we didn't already look. You already missed it, then we went back and missed it again. But it was a good topic for you though. It was an excellent topic for you. But check it out. It's in the beginning and in the middle. Some guys I was around the way too. I was around there. Actually, you might have been off by the time because I left from out there by close to 8 o'clock. But I was out there all up and down America again. I was in Laurelton. Shout out to Laurelton, LA Queen. See, I don't know if if Martin really became a problem until he started going to the north. Like when he started talking about Vietnam and going in the north, that's when he presented a type of issue where he became like Malcolm. Is there anybody else from the DC area in the room? Smell good is from around there. Is there anybody else from the DC area in the room? We don't have anybody from the DMV today. Well, actually, we had Smell Good earlier. I guess he left. But that's like another kind of factor, right? I don't know how many other people heard this. That's why I was asking if anybody from DC was in the room that could tell us more about that history. You know what I'm saying? But there was people that was living in shanties in the alleys of Washington, D.C. all the way up into the 60s. Maybe even the very early 70s. And that was one of the things that also had to do with them passing civil rights, is because once you had the post-World War II era, the post-World War II era, and you had all these diplomats coming to Washington, it was like a third world situation. Like some of these, these shanties that was in the alleys, I heard they didn't have, running water and none of that. When it rained, it rained in their house as well. And so, kind of the embarrassment of that, like I said, they going around persecuting different people. Like they bomb in certain countries because they say, well, we got to liberate their people from the oppression of their government. And this is how you treat your people. See, Malcolm was already embarrassing them like that. See, in the early 60s, he was already doing that. You see what I'm saying? Whereas Martin, he started doing that. I don't really know exactly when. 67, 68. Alfonso Brown said, because the war effort was a slap in the face to his entire nonviolent gesture, they killed Malcolm already. He knew what Al Kim and I were saying back then. That is why he had the mountaintop speech. I have some text to share. It is long, but worth to read. Belafonte reflected, I recall the last time we were together at my home shortly before he was murdered. He seemed quite agitated and preoccupied, and I asked him what the problem was. I asked him what the problem was. According to Belafonte, King responded, I've come upon something that disturbs me deeply. We have fought hard and long for integration, as I believe we should have, and I know we will win, but I have come to believe that we are integrating into a burning house. I'm afraid that America has lost the moral vision she may have had, and I'm afraid that even as we integrate, We are walking into a place that does not understand that this nation needs to be deeply concerned with the plight of the poor and disenfranchised. Until we commit ourselves to ensuring that the underclass is given justice and opportunity, we will continue to perpetuate the anger and violence that tears the soul of this nation. I fear I am integrating my people into a burning house. I mean, yeah, I'm aware of the statement. Uh, you know, you know, see, there's still a lot of ignorance in that statement, though, to me. But look, it's a 1960s ignorance. It's a 19, you was born in 1920s ignorance. You know what I'm saying? He gets I wouldn't say an excuse, but he's only responsible for what he can know at that time. So you gotta remember, at that time, things that we got common knowledge of, like redlining, right, was still something that black people knew existed, but they didn't know exactly how we can identify, who was the people who signed these laws, who was the people that supported these laws, who was the people that enforced them. In the 60s, people didn't know about that yet. There was still areas that was yet to be redlined at that time. They said, you know what I'm saying? But see, all of the stuff that he's talking about, the moral, like, where's that right here? He says, I'm afraid that America has lost the moral vision she may have had. What moral vision? What is he talking about? Right, that's when Malcolm was waking up and smelling the coffee that Malcolm was trying to show him. Probably was thinking everything Malcolm was saying was right, but he is dead and JFK is dead, and I'm next without a doubt. I mean, may have had, when you speaking, because look, when he says America may have had this, let's grind me Al Kim Salam. Al Kim Salam gonna say 120 was available. That's a low blow. that's a low blow right there. But he's talking to Harry Belafonte. That's his man. And he don't have to say may have had. Like, I can see if he's talking to Congress, or that he gets so used to talking to certain people, you know what I'm saying? You're right. I think he was waking up slowly. But I also look at him, just like, look, I'm gonna tell you another dude that I like. You know what I'm saying? His son.
Show. Huh? Okay.
Another dude that I like, W.E.B. Du Bois. You know what I'm saying? I really like W.E.B. Du Bois. You know what I'm saying? That being said, he was the side that played that role. He was the friendly side. You know what I'm saying? You know, you know, uh, he was the friendly side to the Booker T. Washington and the Marcus Garvey side that was much more dangerous. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to controlling the revolution, and remember, we're not talking about just these two individuals, we're talking about all of the people who might follow them. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, you know, all these forms of government that we got right now is because at one time or another, right, in all these different countries, right, that's democratic, socialist, communist, you know, uh, uh, what do you call that? Capitalism, you know, all these different things was things that was designed because the monarchs, the kings and queens that existed when you know everything was dealing with monarchies, they came to a point where they wasn't doing enough for their people. Rather it was because they was greedy, or rather it was because, you know, they, you know, the kingdom started doing bad or whatever the case may be. They stopped being able to take care of the people. And because the people felt like they had no other recourse, you started getting revolutions all over. So right now, they know that every so often the people is gonna feel like they're not getting enough, right? Because they're relatively deprived. Does anybody know what the relatively deprived is? Where's the wordsmith? Did the wordsmith come in? They're relatively deprived. But because they're relatively deprived, right? They're uh, every so often they're gonna, you know, because you living here, you know, you got these poor people, right? But you poor relative to these rich people that's right next to you. So now the question for the people who's the rulers, right, is how do we make them feel like, okay, now they less relatively deprived, right? They're less they're less uh, relatively deprived, right? But at the same time, right? Like you make the masses feel like they're less relatively deprived. But then when you're dealing with the 10%, the thing is, yeah, how do we make them feel that way but still make money off of it? And so uh, to me, you know, Martin Luther King was the person that they was using to control the relatively deprived. You know, at that time. But then, you know, as soon as they lost control of him, you know what I'm saying, to where it's like, okay, where he might take the relatively deprived now is not where we want to go, right? Then he got returned, and you know, most of the people that was around him was absorbed into the system. Well, he didn't. You know, because to a certain degree, y'all gotta look at this too. He didn't really go last. He was the last of the people from the 50s and all that. But, you know, uh, basically that's what happened anyway. Like when he got returned, you know what I'm saying, uh, it validated Malcolm. Now, Kim Salan said consumerism pacifies the relatively deprived nowadays. There still was some people after him. You had your Fred Hamptons, et cetera, et cetera. Um, you know, uh, and that's what I'm saying. Like at the end of the day, if that was their strategy, was to stop, uh, to stop Malcolm from being validated, it didn't work. I would say it definitely backfired, because that's kind of what, um, you know, a lot of dudes that became leadership in the Black Panthers, right? Was dudes that used to roll with Martin Luther King. And all the dudes who was like a part of Martin Luther King and what he was doing, a lot of them we totally lost, you know, like Andrew Young. You know what I'm saying? How many times have Andrew Young's name come up, you think, Martin Luther King? Unless he say something. You think Ambassador Carter, Mayor of Atlanta, this type of stuff. Um, you know, a lot of that stuff was a little more like that wasn't the only factor. Like the civil rights movement probably was the greatest catalyst. You see, there always was gonna have to be some type of industrial thing that was done, uh, especially in the North, to control Black people. You know what I'm saying? Just because of, uh, like, when you look at the reasons for the Great Migration, right? and you listen to all the different people, like if you listen to black people, you know, they talking about how hard life was down there, and you know how the jobs up here was supposed to be paying this kind of money, and that's what they talking about. You know what I'm saying? You know, you know, you hear other people talking about Joe, you know, whatever. But you know, one of the things that happened was World War I. See, don't leave World War I out of a lot of things because uh, you know, in American history, a lot of things get shaped from there too. I'm not saying it's the only factor, but you know, everything that happened don't just happen for one reason. You know what I'm saying? And one thing that happened in World War I, uh, America, that was when America cut off immigration. And you can still come from certain countries like probably England and France, but a lot of places like at that time when World War I started, the Italians was one of the big groups that was coming over here. But then in the war, the Italians is the enemy. So they stopped all that immigration from coming over here. So then they needed other uh they needed workers to take their place. And so you already had the train system set up because these is the same train lines that's transporting all the goods that they were producing as slaves and sharecroppers to the north. So they really was brought there. It always was kind of supposed to be a temporary thing. Then if you notice it, right, when they wanna that's one of the things, like the Civil Rights Act in 1965, immigration opened back up in 1966. It makes a topic a little, although a lot doesn't usually even get brought up or even known. I mean, you know, I didn't want to seem biased, but you know, when Alfonso Brown says that, uh, when he says that Martin Luther King was the last, you know, I think Allah probably is more closer to, you know, what you would say, you know, was kind of the end of that era. True. It's not just free slaves, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, black people in general, they don't have no use for us. deal with technology, right? We discussed this on here before, how now they got one machine, right? That I seen it go down the road in the field, pick the cotton and put it in the back of the bin and keep going. Huge machine. So now this machine is doing the work of 20 slaves or whatever it might be. And then you gotta remember a lot of industry, right, is shrinking, just in terms of dealing with, because that machine I'm talking about in the field, that's an industrial machine. Now don't get me wrong, it's starting to be digital because they got ones now that don't even need a driver. It can work by GPS and you put it in the field and it does all the work. Yes, I mean, but I'm saying, at one time, General Motors was the biggest company in America. You know what I'm saying? Right now, probably the biggest company in America is what, Walmart? Is it Walmart or Amazon or Apple? Now, see, once you get to these companies like Walmart, yeah, they got a whole bunch of people working there, but they're not making money, not that GM money. You understand what I'm saying? Amazon, they got people working there, not making GM money. You understand what I'm saying? Once you start getting to those computer companies, they don't have nowhere near the amount of money working for them, the amount of people working for them. You know what I'm saying? There's many different factors. Like for instance, Alfonso Brown in New York, right? One thing that happened is industrial farming closed down, like the whole upstate New York, a lot of Long Island, even parts of the Bronx, Queens, and Brooklyn was farms. God praise from the Providence plantations. It's funny that you come in right when we're talking about plantation business. And a lot of those farms, they was being closed down, you know what I'm saying, ever since the Great Depression. A lot of those farms was being shut down since the Great Depression in New York State. And so you also have to look at in New York State, other states, I'm sure they may have a little bit different story. But let me tell you something. The prison industrial complex, right, is it's also an affirmative action jobs program for those colored people that live upstate. See, a lot of them towns up there, all along the Hudson River, the different rivers, those was, the first, when the Industrial Revolution was happening, a lot of it was through the water mills, where they got the wheel and the water goes through the wheel and it powers something. So all along the riverways in New York, right, that's where, they had a lot of those factories built. So all the outsourcing and all this thing that was going on was shutting down the economy in upstate New York. Look at look at uh like a documentary on some place like Buffalo. And just, how the industry and whatever, what I'm saying, died there. It happened like that all over. It happened like that all over uh, upstate New York. So while for black people, it's a warehousing program. It's a warehousing program. But for them up there, it's a it's an affirmative action jobs program. Wait, what's this here you say? Atif said Apple got new money from the Fed, and the Fed used the loan proceeds to buy Apple stock. So the U.S. dollar is now partially backed by Apple stock. Well, guess they won't be able to talk bad about crypto no more. Alfonso Brown said Walmart's automation efforts are astonishing. I researched the retail and Internet of Things space deeply. Many of those jobs will be going surely over the next, 10 years? You put there? Alfonso Brown said we had that here in Poughkeepsie during those times. Poughkeepsie was one of the largest commerce hubs. Yeah. Lee Lowe says Sawmill River where the logs used to float up north. See what I'm saying? So the other people is aware of the history of what I'm saying, of how when those farms and those factories closed down, you know what I'm saying, is, you had a large group, at the 60s, you know, you had a large group of black people that was unemployed, large group of white people that was unemployed, you know, late 60s, early 70s. So you let Peter pay Paul. All right, Alfonso Brown, I'm about to be out myself. I just noticed the time of what's going on. You know what I mean? Um, Shout out to everybody that came through. If y'all made it this far, do the each one, teach one, and hit the like button for me. Um, if you're new to the channel, subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Pizzy that supported the stream today. You know what I'm saying? Um, and y'all know tomorrow is the rally. Knowledge Allah said he's headed back to Kenosha. Better ABC. Allah be careful. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, anybody that didn't get a chance to already, share this on your Facebooks and your Twitter and everything, so the word can get out. And tomorrow's the rally, so I'm gonna be out there, of course. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure if we're gonna get a chance to coming soon, but definitely I'll be back on Monday, class at 6 o'clock, and I will see you there or be square. Peace.